If you have a hard time getting your drums to hit hard in your beats, I'm going to share 3 tips that will help you out. Getting your drums to be present and upfront in your beat is really important, especially when producing hip hop. So for example, let's take a listen to the beat that you heard in the intro. Now I want you to hear how the exact same beat would sound using the exact same drums if I didn't use the tips that I'm going to be showing you in this video. This just sounded feeble. This is the type of beat that would wear a turtleneck to a party. It's just weak and no one's gonna like it. So let's take a look at what I did to help get these drums to sound stronger and how you can use some of these ideas if you ever find yourself in this exact same conundrum. And if you find yourself liking my videos, please do think about subscribing. It's really easy to unsubscribe, just 1 click away if you find yourself getting bored of my videos. It really does help me out though. So first off, let's cover the idea of colorization. Oftentimes the problem with drums, or really any sound for that matter, is that they won't be as present as you need them to be when trying to fill up enough space frequency-wise. It just will not matter how much you turn up that fader and make your drum sounds louder and louder. If it's sitting in an entirely different space from where you need it to be, it's just not going to be as much of a help to your beat. And that's where tools that will help you with colorization will come in. Primarily, we're talking about things like saturators and distorters. Let's take a look at how big of an impact they had with this beat that I made here. First, we have this kick. Let's take a listen to how it would sound without any saturation. And then when I turn this on, you can hear we get much more color in the high end of the frequency spectrum. You can even see this visually if I open up an EQ. Here is the frequency readout of my kick without saturation, and then once I turn it on, you can see we had a slight boost, especially more so over here in the higher end. Now you might be thinking, why can't I just use an EQ and boost up that high end instead? Well, at times these tools will literally create frequencies where none exist. If no frequencies exist in a very particular space and you use an EQ to boost there, it's not going to be as helpful because you can't boost what doesn't exist. Therefore, using tools like these are going to help you in a better way to get your drums to fill up more space. Another more drastic example of this exact same type of tool helping me in this beat was on my snare. This is how loud it sounds when it's played in the beat, but you can hear as soon as I turn off these plugins, the snare quickly sounds like it's vanishing away in the beat. And in this example, the tool that's really helping me here is Camel Crusher, which is a free tool. This is my go-to if I really want my snares to crack. What I do is I use this subtle master preset, and then I slowly turn up these distortion knobs until I get a nice amount of that high-end crack. And obviously you can adjust this to whatever your needs may be. If you want a full walkthrough on this tool, check out the video that I made on it a while back. It should be showing up in the corner right now. So that's colorization. The next tip for getting your drums to sound a lot stronger or even weaker if need be is to use reshapers. This is something that can be a game changer depending on what your beat needs. If you ever watched my video where I explain how drum compression works in order to help your drums sound more strong, you know that it's not necessarily the peak of the drums that make it sound loud, the body of them can make a huge difference as well. And in this scenario, reshaping tools can easily help your drums. Using transient shapers is a great way to go. And they're really simple to use. They only really have 2 primary dials typically. We have the attack as well as the release/sustain. And you can use these to really create a nice amount of body with your drums if need be. So here I use them on my hi-hat and I increase the release as you can see. I also decreased the attack because they were very sharp. You can hear how this would have sounded without any transient processing. So this helped my hi-hats sound a bit more prolonged. What this is basically doing is taking the body of my drum sound and extending how long it's loud for. Now if I were to put this on my snare just as an example, this is really going to make an insane difference. You can hear we have a lot more of that body, which can help fill up this beat quickly. But conversely, you can do the opposite as well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in the right situation, like if you needed to reduce how thick your drums are. So if my drums are taking up too much space, I peel back the release on my transient shaper, and conversely, if I feel like they aren't doing enough in the beat, I'll crank up the release and my drums will end up taking a lot more room in my beat. My go-to is to use this on my hi-hats a lot of the time, since hi-hats are the sounds that are going to be playing most frequently in your beat, so controlling them can be a huge help. Now if you're still having a hard time understanding just how powerful this tool can be, let me try to explain this a different way. Let's say you were a baldy-headed fella and you were out on town shopping for a new wig. You try on a few different head rugs and you decide on your new look. Everything is peachy when you try it on in the store and you're happy with your decision. But then when you go out, you realize that the weather outside feels a lot more dry and your new hair starts to get dehydrated. And then out of nowhere, all of a sudden, it looks like an anvil fell on your head because your wig just looks so stiff and dry. You look like a complete idiot, so you go back to the wig shop wanting yet another wig. So at that point, you get yet another headpiece. It looks beautiful once again in the store, but this time when you leave, it's a lot more humid out. And now you notice that your hair just looks completely thin. Every single time you walk past the schoolyard, the cops end up showing up and arresting you because you look like a creepy perv. This is just not the way that you want to live your life. But imagine instead you had the ability to control just how thick or thin your wig hairs are with one simple tool. So no matter what environment you're in, you can adjust your hair to fit whatever your needs may be. That's sort of exactly what a reshaping tool can do for your drums when you're making a beat. No matter what style of beat you're making, you can always take your drums and reshape them to fit your needs. So hopefully you're starting to understand just how helpful a transient shaper can be for your drums when you're making beats. Reshaping tools are basically like futuristic wigs, but for your beats. These analogies are just getting weirder and weirder. And finally, the last tip is parallel processing. So if I were to play these drums as they are, even with the saturating and the shaping, which is helping, these drums still won't sound all that strong in the beat. But if I were to add in this layer of parallel processing, that's when we get a huge overhaul to the drums. A really big change here. Now to do this, what you want to do is send your drums all to one mixer insert. And if you don't know how to do this, check out the video in the corner where I explain how to use the FL mixer in full. Now at this point, you'll have double the amount of signal playing. You'll have the original drum mixer inserts, which in this example are inserts 1, 2, and 3. And you also have your additional mixer insert that will have all your drums playing within it, which in this example is insert number 4. And from here, what you want to do is go into the mixer insert that your drums are being sent to and add in some effects. A very common technique people use is parallel compression. I'm sure you've heard of this, where you add a compressor onto this mixer insert, which can help your drums sound a bit more dense and punchy. For me though, when I do this technique, instead of reaching for a straightforward compressor, what I will do at times is opt for more drastically creative effects that are going to have a bigger impact on the character of my sounds. So one that I routinely reach for is Decapitator. This is especially good for drums as well as bass. But you can go about this in many different ways. I will at times use multi-effects tools like Voodoo here, or I might use some tape emulation plugins. You can hear these are just instant ways that you can take your drums and reshift where they sit and how they sound overall. And you can get some pretty unique ideas by just experimenting with which tools you use when it comes to parallel processing. So those are 3 tips that you can use to help your drums sound stronger in your beat. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Head over to betterbeatmaker.com if you're interested in my full online beatmaking course. The link to my free drum kit's available in the description box below, as well as a link to the Discord if you want to join my producer community, and I will see you guys next time.